I've decided to go live and do a quick session for 5 to 10 minutes max. Because some people have been sending me DMs on Twitter saying, could you please make a video? Because due to the current X algo, we don't see you. Some people say it's been like a month that they've seen me and they're like, we're not really on X, so can you go on YouTube? So here I am, sharing the message of what I'm doing. If you're here, as always, please drop a like. And most importantly, say hello so I know that you're here. Hi, everyone. Don't be shy. Just drop a hi. I'm currently at the Dubai Mall. Went to Cipriani Dolce, had my favorite cheesecake called the mixed berry cheesecake and a cappuccino. They have the best cappuccinos in the world. If you're ever in Dubai or someplace where they have Cipriani Dolce, definitely try the cappuccinos. They're works of art. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on in the market, right? Let's talk about what's going on in the market. Historically, based on historic trends, we're in the macro accumulation phase. Bitcoin has dropped 55%. Whenever it's been down anywhere from 50% from its all-time high to 70%, that's been the best time to buy. It's never been the bottom, but it's always been a good time to buy. Every single time you bought Bitcoin after a 55% crash, you would be in profit long-term in a few years. So I have started buying, accumulating Bitcoin. Same thing goes for XRP. XRP is currently down 72%. Historically, based on historic trends, 72% was never the bottom, but it was always a great time to buy XRP long term. If you're ready to buy and hold for 2-3 years to sell for a good profit. So I have started accumulating XRP also. In addition to that, I have started buying Ethereum and some other coins that I'm not going to mention here, but I have started buying some other coins too. Mainly my main holdings are Ethereum, XRP, and Bitcoin. Personally, I don't think that the bottom is in for Bitcoin. If we're talking about the roughly 4-year cycles that have been working like magic up until now, and they will keep working until the day that they don't, but for now they have been working. So based on the historic time frames in the 4-year cycle, it hasn't bottomed. Based on percentages, yes, they're diminishing, ROI is diminishing, and crashes are diminishing. So, if we just round up the numbers and forget about precision, the first crash was 95%, then 85%, and then 75%. There were actually like 93, 84, and 77, but let's just round them up to make it easier for people to memorize. 95, 85, and 75. So they're diminishing by roughly 10% every single time, give or take. So once again, a roughly 65% crash, 66 to 67% would be perfect if we're looking for a bottom. So we are close, but I do believe that based on percentages, historic trends, time frames, and the roughly 4-year cycle, it does make a lot of sense that the Bitcoin bottom is not in yet, despite being quite close on the macro, unless you're a trader, which I'm not. I'm a long-term investor and swing trader, at the best, but definitely not a day trader. These are good entries. So, I would say, remember, the rules are don't try to catch the bottom, chase good entries, and simply dollar cost average at new lows. So I am 50%, roughly 50% in the market now, and roughly 50% sidelined. I have started buying after Bitcoin crashed 50% and XRP crashed 70%. And so I'm 50% in, and I'll be adding at new lows if we get those new lows. Once again, it would make sense for Bitcoin and XRP both to drop a little lower. That being said, historically, once again, July and August, mainly July, but sometimes August too, has had the counter trend rallies where basically, even if we are in a bear market, like I don't like to refer to it as a bear market, I prefer to refer to it as an accumulation phase, because I believe bear markets are a good thing. They're a part of every single cycle because they give you a chance to buy a discount. So basically in the accumulation phase, you buy it and it's a blessing. Anyway, yeah, so going back to what I was saying, I believe that it's time to buy and hold. So you start dollar cost averaging at new lows. The other 50% will basically be allocated at new lows after I think July and August are done. Usually after that, Bitcoin starts going back down and make a lower low. That has been the case in all previous cycles. That's probably going to be the case again in this cycle, I believe. We don't need exact precision, but once again, talking about time frames, historic trends, and percentages, it would make sense for Bitcoin to drop roughly 65%. 66.6% if we're going to be like crazy precise, right, based on the charts, but like roughly 65% would make sense. Currently, we're down 55%. So another 10% from the all-time highs would make perfect sense, and that's where I would look to unload the remaining, like, 50% and dollar cost average in. If that doesn't happen, and I see that there's some kind of bottom formation being built, a distinguishable one, which I can clearly see. We've been talking about it on Patreon for a while now, tracking it for months on end. If you remember, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If I see a bottom formation coming in, then I would just start dollar cost averaging in at the slightly higher valuation and start buying slightly higher. I'm fine with that as long as I see that the bottom formation has been built. So far, the bottom formation has not been confirmed yet. And, percentage-wise and time frame-wise, it does not make sense for the Bitcoin bottom to be in, despite it being, I believe, quite close percentage-wise. Maybe not time frame-wise, but percentage-wise. It might take several more months for it to happen. But, all that aside, remember, chase good entries and profits, not tops and bottoms. So, guys, I would say that it's like nobody's telling you to go all in, but I would say it's definitely time to start dollar cost averaging. And like I said, for the umpteenth time, I'm 50% in. And I believe that this is a good time to start accumulating without trying to catch the bottom and holding until the roughly 4-year cycle plays out again, or until the price has increased significantly to sell. In addition to that, if we brush aside the conversation in regards to bottoms and we talk about profit taking in the future, I would highly recommend that you get completely rid of price targets because they hinder the process of selling for a great profit. I have conducted research for several years now where I've taken price targets from like over 100 profiles. You name the person, I've definitely included them in there if they at least have 100,000 followers and they're popular, including me, and roughly the accuracy rate is roughly 5%. So 95% of price predictions, you name any YouTuber, any crypto analyst, 95% of price targets have been wrong in the past. So that tells you that the probability that the price targets in the future will be wrong again is roughly 95% and 5% accuracy. It gets in the way of things. So get rid of price targets and just sell for a good profit wherever the price is once we're roughly 4 years in, or the price has increased well enough. What do I mean by well enough on the macro? Anywhere from 5 to 10x depending on the coin, right? So yeah, just sell wherever the coin is, where it is. Like I personally don't think that Bitcoin is even going to do anywhere 5 to 10x this cycle. I think it's going to do less, but we'll see. Again, these are price predictions, so let's get rid of price predictions. Let's just concentrate on where it is in roughly 3.5 years from now, or roughly 3 years from now, somewhere around that. Yeah, like for example, last cycle XRP went from 28 cents to $3.66, and we accumulated from 30 cents to 50 cent range, and sold from at $1, $2, and $3, and sold everything in the $2.50 to $2.80 zone, right? Once again, perfection is not needed, as I said, guys. I was aiming for 7 to 13, but once again, that did not hinder me from selling earlier. Another rule that I keep reiterating: if you have price targets, divide that price target by 2, 3, and sometimes even 4, and sell early. It's better to sell early than sell late, because eventually everything crashes back down and you'll be able to rotate profits. But if you didn't take profits and you didn't sell too early, you'll have nothing to rotate the profits. You won't have profits to rotate. You'll be back to basically square one, right? Without any profits. And last cycle, for example, a lot of altcoins did absolutely nothing. The place was very diluted with meme coins, so there wasn't much liquidity. And even then, I sold for much smaller profits than expected, because the worst thing you can do is round trip a cycle, leaving without profits, basically. So I still got out in okay profits, the worst profits I ever had, but okay profits. Once again, outperformed the majority of the market, because unfortunately most people did not make money once again. And now I have profits to rotate. And whatever this market cycle gives, that's exactly the same approach I'm going to have, right? It's not, don't basically try to squeeze and bully the market into where you want it to be. Just take what the market gives you. Yeah, that's a very important rule. Kind of like go with the flow, if you will. Crypto Richner, is good to see you here. Jan Vanek, good to see you. Chian and Matthew. Matthew says, morning, Rob, from sunny Sardinia. Hope you're well. I'm well. Thank you very much, Matthew. I appreciate it. Hope you're well too, guys. So yeah, you know, if you're losing interest and, you know, nobody wants to talk about crypto anymore, don't do that. This is the macro accumulation phase. We are in the macro accumulation zone. Bitcoin is down 50%. Anywhere from 50% to roughly 70% is the accumulation zone. Buy in that range dollar cost average, whichever way you can. Same thing for XRP, is down 70%. Anywhere from 70 to basically 78%, max 80% from all-time highs is the accumulation zone for me with XRP. So we're in the zone, guys. Don't get bored. Be excited. Be happy about it. I know that accumulation is never fun, and you know, watching your coins pump is a lot more fun. Also, what I recommend, stay away from basically meme coins and a lot of that nonsense out there. We've seen in the last cycle that a lot of these coins, literally 99.99% have done absolutely nothing and gone to zero and will go to zero and never recover. So if you are buying something besides XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, make sure it's a utility-driven coin that has a nice narrative, that has done something every single cycle, recovered every single cycle, pumped every single cycle, and that has a functional community that's still here right now in the present day. These are very important factors. I can tell you that I'll just say it, but basically one of these communities is also Sol. You know, which is, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, and it's kind of ironic because of Sol and all the memes being built on Sol, a lot of utility coins didn't pump, so kind of Sol kind of killed the space. But at the same time, Sol is being heavily used to create meme coins, so you know, there is a utility case. Like I said, it's a little ironic. So yeah, that's that. Anyway, drop a like, please, guys. We are nearly 12 minutes in. As I said, I was planning to do 5 to 10 minutes quick live just to let you know what I'm doing and what I am up to personally. If you're not a Patreon member, make sure you join and read all the updates and you know what I'm doing if you're interested. Yeah, and share this video, please. I'll catch up with you guys more regularly and more often if you like. So yeah, guys, if you actually want me to do these lives or videos on YouTube, shoot me a DM on Twitter, comment on Twitter, or leave a comment here on YouTube saying, yeah, we'll miss your videos, we'll miss your lives, and then I'll do it. It just, to me, seems kind of like these days YouTube is not worth it, but if you guys disagree, let me know. Jan says it's good to buy between 80 cents and 72 cents. Yeah, I agree. That's also the range where I'll be dollar cost averaging more. But I have allocated 50% of my accumulation budget for XRP here now at roughly like $1 something cents, but basically it's roughly $1. The other 50% will be allocated lower if the market gives it that opportunity, and I think the opportunities will be there. We just have to be patient. But you know, just in case it doesn't happen, I just made sure it doesn't catch me by surprise. That's why I'm 50% allocated after a major crash, because as you well know, if you're a Patreon member, I sold 90% of all my coins when Bitcoin was trading at roughly 110,000. I think it was 108,000, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So now I have started rotating. All right, that's that. Thank you guys for joining. Appreciate your time. Drop a like. Bye-bye.